do when the weight of your past threatens to overshadow your future? For Tavares Garrett, the answer lies in resilience and transformation. A happily married father of 2 adult daughters and a proud grandfather of 2 grandsons, Tavares has dedicated his career to educating others about health and transformation with multiple certifications from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He is also an author, speaker, and podcast host. Tavares has triumphed over drugs, alcohol, childhood trauma, and generational influences, emerging as a beacon of hope. Join us as we explore his journey of overcoming setbacks and his insights on building resilience through personal growth and self-improvement.
Sometimes life gives us lemons. Sometimes it gives us lemonade. Other times it gives us something entirely out of left field that makes us say, WTF. But no matter what obstacles come, there is most often a way out on the other side, and we are once again victorious. My name is Dr. Ro, and you are listening to my podcast about resilience. Every guest shares a tragedy to triumph story to give listeners like you the inspiration to push through every single day. Listen now as my next guest shares how they were life-jacked.
Hi, Tavares. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Ro, I'm doing terrific. Thank you for having me. I've been looking so forward to your show, and here I am. So thank you again for inviting me into your space.
No, absolutely. Thank you as well. Tavares, so can you share a little about your family and how they have influenced your journey toward resilience?
Sure. My mother had 4 of us. Myself, I'm the youngest of 4. I have 3 sisters, Monique, Camille, and Latrice, and they all fall in sequence. So 54, 55, 56. And then my mom, there's me. And so I believe my mother, not only is she my hero, but I've learned, in fact, all of my resourcefulness and my resilience from her. She had a very early, tough, I would say, young parenthood with my father and my sister. And so my mom is a survivor of domestic violence, amongst other things. And so watching her really just show up, not only for herself, but for us. I mean, I remember eating, we had beans and rice for like weeks at a time. And so really taught us how to stick together and how to make the best out of our opportunities. Though we didn't understand at the time because we were so young, but as I have aged and as I have done, put in the work and evolved, my hero, man. So I get all of this that I am prepared for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. Isn't it amazing how at the time when you're going through it, when you're young, you don't recognize the fortitude that your parents have, particularly your mother. And I think that's an amazing thing. I mean, did you notice it while you were young at all?
What I noticed was that she was always working. I mean, there was a point in time where she had 3 jobs. And so my sister Monique, she was the oldest. So Monique was like the second mother to us, And so my mom would literally sometimes come home, change, be in it within 15 minutes. And so that is what I saw a lot of, eating the same thing for weeks at a time, not seeing her until sometimes the next morning because we're already in bed by the time she gets home. And the only one that would be up is my older sister, Monique. So Monique's up, everyone else is in bed because it was her job to make sure that homework was done, that we had taken them in bed on time. So that was like the norm. It was, you kind of caught mom in glimpses until the weekend.
Wow. Now you faced significant challenges throughout your life, including overcoming drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a lot of listeners that are struggling with those very addictions. So what was the turning point that motivated you to make a change in your life? Like, I mean, because, I like to have a drink every now and then, but then how do you know, like that you've crossed over into a different arena where it's no longer like, I just kind of have a drink, a glass of wine here and there. And now, oh, no, this is a problem.
I had a whole bunch of what most would consider a string of bad luck. Like, I kept finding myself in the same scenario over and over where I was always the common denominator. And so the turning point I would have to say was a breakup. It was an ex-fiance. We were together for over 13 years. And I had already begun, like I already stopped drinking, but there was 3 years from the time I stopped drinking to the time that we broke up where things just simply put, they were messy. They were inconsistent. There was a lot of speculation on both sides. And so I was medicating with alcohol, right? And I didn't have an off switch. So I would drink. And that would always end up with me blacking out. And the turning point was that I had finally gotten sick of being sick and tired of myself. And I share this often. Like, people telling me, do this, go here, go to AA. And I tried several other things. I did AA for 6 months. And I took away a whole lot of information, great information and experience from that. But I always felt that I wanted to have more involved with my evolution. Where most people pray in the beginning when they're going through something, I prayed at the end. It was my last resort. It was all that I had left. And I finally surrendered. And when I surrendered, 1 day became 5 days. 5 days became 2 months. And I just kept going. And each day, it was a grind. It was not fun. Detoxing, not fun. It was uncomfortable. But what I realized was I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because there was a lot of dark nights and I was in that dark corner. And there was nobody with me because I isolated myself. I allowed the drugs and the alcohol to take residence, and they took residence for free, right? Because I'm paying the tab.
Right.
And so, right? And so I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired of myself. And I just had to, I had to just bear down, plant it beneath me, and I had to gather myself. And I did that. I've never stopped doing the work. I've never stopped doing the work because guess what? There is no finish line. There is no finish line. We are continuously evolving and changing as spirits, as people, from one moment, one day to the next. I'm not even the same person I was yesterday. That's how present I prefer to be in my life. So that was the turning point.
Well, it's interesting because when you see people or even yourself and they keep going and doing the same things over and over and over, and it does make like, why do they keep doing that? Like, what's wrong? And I remember my grandmother told me, because it doesn't hurt enough. So I love that you were just sick and tired of yourself. Like you were tired of being yourself. Like, and I think that's what it takes. It has to be where you say it. I mean, because people can tell you to change, right? They can tell you to, you need to do, like you said, you could go to AA, go do this, do that. But until you decide, I'm sick of you. Like, that's right. Like,
absolutely.
Do that. Right. And that's where the change happens because like who else has to do the work?
Exactly.
So as a health and transformation educator, how do you incorporate your personal experiences into your teaching and coaching with your clients?
Oh my goodness, Dr. Rowe. I love you for this question right here. This is a great question. I'm transparent. The body synthesis, I created that out of necessity. I created that because I always wanted to have a place under one roof where I could go and really get into my mind, my body, my spirit, and so that's why I created the body synthesis. And creating the body synthesis, being that it came from necessity, being that it came from my story, how could I not share my story with my body? Right? Like that is what connects us. One of the methods, the entry point into the body synthesis program is through a method I call CLS, Connect, Listen, Share. Kind of like what you and I are doing right now. And so in this space, slowly, a person's walls come down. Slowly. I'm very gentle, very kind, very warm, very inclusive in this space. And so in this space, again, we're connecting, we're listening, and we're sharing. And so I'm sharing, the stories about my earlier childhood when I was born in 1975, and my father tried to kill my mother. He shot at her twice, but she ran from the house to get help because he was beating her and had been beating her for over 24 hours. And she had left at the house. So I share this story. I talked about the drugs and alcohol. I talked about how I would medicate for 3 days at a time. I talked about going on benders for 48 hours, taking off where nobody could find me. I mean, taking off to the point where I actually had my ex actually call the police because he thought, this is how I was navigating my woes, thinking that I was actually being drowned. And so I share it, right? I share this. That's how they respond. It's like, you, wow. And then in that moment, I humanize not only myself, but the experience. And therefore, they connect with that, right? They connect with the fact that I'm so transparent, I'm willing to bear it all. And I bear it, and I'm very genuine and authentic in that space. Sometimes we even cry together because that's how deep we go with it. Like, I have an ability, I'm kind of like an empath. I take people's energy, I can sense it, I can feel it, I can take it in, mix it up a bit, and kind of give it back to them, kind of like, regenerating clean fuel, if you will. So, but in clean energy. In this space, a lot of the members that I serve, they come into this space and a lot of them are scared. They've never been in this space. They've never shown their vulnerability. They struggle being transparent. And so that's for them. And I just connect simply through my story, my experiences. I can't talk about anyone else's experiences, talk about them. But I can't own them, right? So yeah, it's all about the personal experiences because I believe that's what we learn, or indifferent. That's what we learn.
I like that. CLS, connect, listen, and share. Connect, listen, and share. Man, that's the powerful stuff right there. Now,
right. Very simple, right? Very simple.
Right.
It's very simple, straight to the point. And a space, again, it's an inclusive, it's a kind, it's a safe space, as I say often.
Now, you just mentioned that writing has been a constant in your life. Do you believe that writing has contributed to your healing and transformation process?
Oh, my goodness, absolutely. In fact, when I was in some of my darkest days and those dark nights I spoke of and those dark corners, all you had was the light from my cell phone. That was it. And so I write. And let me be clear and very transparent with yourself and the audience. I didn't write with the intent of coming up with the Kiss by the Wind series. It's a volume 1 to volume 3. That was not the intent. I was actually writing because that was my therapy at the time. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just writing. And I kept writing, and I would have upon entries upon entries. And I was using the note app in my iPhone. And through the breakup at times, and after that, it was just, that was who I spoke to. It was that notepad, And I've done hip-hop music for a very long time. In a whole other life, I was an artist for a very long time. Still help manage people in the music industry. But for me, I was able to take my talent with writing already, and I now start to give my energy towards poetry. And even kind of like slam poetry at times. But this particular time was just about therapy. And so the writing was therapeutic through my experience because I really got a lot of dark times. If you read Kiss by the Wind, a book of poems and passions, honestly, from volume 1 to volume 3, what you are experiencing is me in the darkness coming into the light and then on the other side. So that's where volume 1, 2, and 3 kind of come into play. So again, I'm writing this as like in real time what I'm going through, like the detoxing, being alone, feeling worthless, contemplating suicide. I mean, it was ugly. It was dark, and here I am not telling nobody. So I'm suffering in silence, and it's me in this notepad. And then years later, Kiss by the Wind is born.
Wow.
And then after that, I'm done. After that, I've written, I just finished my latest piece of work, Health and Transformation. It's a new guide that I just did, and I have several other publications, but my whole thing is about, lifting as I rise. It's all about, even some of the other books I have, a book of inspirational quotes. I have another book of motivational quotes. Like, it's just everything that I do, I like to, keep it kind of within this same space. And all of it comes down to like wellness and self-healing and, love of the self and showing up to yourself, right? Like just showing up to yourself like you're supposed to be here. Like don't show up halfway. Show up all the way and then some so that you can really get out what you are putting in. And I feel like a lot of individuals, they really sell themselves short.
No, absolutely. Now, doing this life work on yourself, it's a lot, right? And the emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical work that you have to do. So can you kind of break down what does that journey look like for you, or even to, kind of inspire others? Like what exactly does that work look like? How do you work on your emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical self?
So emotionally, I had to be willing to go into the dark corners of my mind within my spirit. And I had to be willing to go gather all those pieces of myself that I had pushed to the side to fit in with certain groups of people. We call that shape shifting. So once I had gotten those pieces of myself that I left behind, I was able to now talk myself into going to get evaluated because I felt like there was something else kind of gnawing at me. Now, I recently have found out that I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but I found this out 3 years ago. So you can imagine what I was trying to process, like from the age of like 3 to like 48, so 45. So I'm thinking all these things that are passing through my head. My sister, no one ever told me this. Now, meanwhile, I go see Dr. Khalid. Dr. Khalid is now my psychiatrist. I see him 6 days a week. This is what I knew I had to be vulnerable. The type of thing when he works willing to be vulnerable, right? I go get Dr. Khalid. Dr. Khalid, he evaluates me. He comes back with ADD, anxiety disorder, and PTSD. Khalid was referred by Dr. Mile. Dr. Mile is my general counsel therapist. I talk to Dr. Mile just about everything, right? So now what I've done is I put myself in a position to go get professional help because I understood the kind of work that I needed was going to be kind of pretty extensive. So once I did that with Dr. Mile, remember, he referred me to Dr. Khalid. Then went and got Dr. Janet. She is an EMDR specialist. And so she deals with generational trauma, childhood trauma, and influences. And so simply put, what I'm saying here is, 1, have to be willing. 2, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and be straight. I knew that there was something I had to really tackle, and I knew that. And I knew that it was going to be work. So I wouldn't. Now, the work didn't stop there. The work just began there. Because remember, I stopped drinking. I thought I had it together. Nuh-uh. When I stopped drinking, that's when the real demons came out. And I had to face these demons, right? I had to face them. I couldn't fake them out. I couldn't run an audible. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that. And so you got to be willing. You have to be willing to go into this space because you have to know that getting free to the other side is going to be filled with fear naturally. But it's going through that fear that's going to shape you. That is going to shape you spiritually. That's going to shape you. And then, of course, mentally, AKA brain health, you're going to strengthen your brain up because now you know what you're capable of. So that's what it looked like for me. I had to continuously show it to my fear. And there was times where I was like, I'm not for sure about this. But I said earlier at the top of this interview and this conversation, I said, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what came with this. And so the physical work, I've always been in the gym. I go to the gym 6 days a week. I've been working out since my goodness, probably like 18, 19 years old. And I just changed up the program throughout the years. Workouts became better once I started to put things in there. I was working out and I just felt like I was working harder, but I wasn't really seeing, the results I was, working toward. And I feel all that changed once I started to really do the work. I even changed how I ate. I'm a pescatarian now. No chicken, no meat, I changed everything. I drink antioxidant-rich water, 9.5 pH. I really took it to a whole different level because I realized certain things weren't going to be sustainable. And then, of course, my body, the biology, it changes. So I couldn't find food. So it looks like this in short. When it comes to the emotional component, we have to be willing to spend time with ourselves. We can ask anyone else for the time. We have to be willing to give ourselves affection and love before we can ask anyone to give us affection or love. And then spirituality. Get to know yourself. Meditate. Practice stillness. Connect with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Show yourself grace. And then, of course, mental acuity and brain health. Well, get good sleep. Protect the energy. Don't take on other people's energy. That's going to take energy away from you. Just kindly remove yourself. It's very simple. Excuse me, this isn't working for me. I got to go. I'll check in with you later. It's simple. And then, of course, the physical work. Stay in the gym. Keep the workout simple. Stay hydrated, okay? You're not looking to compete here, so you can take the marathon approach. But have that body moving, okay? If you love your body will love you back. And here's the thing. We got life, but we got one body. That's the deal we all made when we came to this place. Take care of that one body.
No, most definitely. Now, she mentioned childhood trauma earlier just a minute ago. And so how do you think that, of course, we all have some type of, trauma, some more extreme than others. So how do you think childhood trauma and generational influence shape our ability to build resilience? And of course, a lot of us are doing things because we're in a cycle, right? And we have did it because our grandma did it, our mom did it, our dad did it, our grandpa did it. We saw our uncle. So that's why we then in turn take it on to our children. But how do we break these toxic cycles?
I'd say one approach is doing something different every day and being very intentional about your personal growth. That's one thing for sure. And then I would say also to educate ourselves and educate our children as well. I'm a part of a group and a program right now that's it's in the beginning, infant stages, and we're going to be teaching young children starting at 10 and 12 years old about financial literacy. That is one approach. Not only talk about, generational wealth, actually put, programs and opportunities in place. And so I believe to approach life like that would naturally reshape a lot of those generational influences or those generational tasks, if you will. Before I even got into this space, I felt like I was already in a space that we kind of struggle with this even in my family. Domestic violence was a huge deal. Where they got caught up in it. My mom, they were on the other side of it. So that was something that I knew early on. And then, of course, as a young man, I had to struggle and I feel the tough way. And I didn't have a father who cared enough to even come 45 minutes south to come visit me. So, my mom is my mom and my dad. So seeing how she was able to navigate and evolve, her resilience just spoke super loud to not only myself, but my sisters. And so my mom's been able to give us a better life, and we've been able to, it's almost like she's passed the baton, and we take it to the next level. Like recently, my wife and I, we bought our first home. It's a deal to be an African-American homeowner. That's a really, really, really big deal. And in an area, you know what I'm saying? And in an affluent area as well. We work hard. And so just that, and I'm the baby of the four, the first homeowner. For my mom to still be here and see that, well, shoot, we'd have already booked a couple cycles already right there, because now our grandchildren, Blue and Bryson, now they get to be a part of what I like to call legacy, right? And already we're already rewriting the narrative on the generational influence, the past, and even when it comes to our grandson, I refuse to yell at him. I refuse. I refuse to spank him. I refuse. I talk to him like a young man, and he responds like a young man. And I feel if there's anything I can give him and Bryson, it's that tenderness. It's from one black man to another young black man. It's showing him that love. It's showing him that tenderness. It's seeing him and helping him to feel seen. So that when he goes up into this world, this cold world, he knows that it's important for him to always have a jacket with, metaphorically.
Right.
So that he can keep himself warm. He can keep bundled up and protected from all those things that we all have to navigate through every day. Yeah. So that's an approach that we have taken to start cycles, because in my family, there's a whole lot of generational influence. A lot of cousins who battle alcohol right now, they're battling weight, diabetes, mom battles diabetes. So there's a whole bunch of things. But my approach for all of that, take care of yourself, love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Love your body. It's going to love you back. Just show up for yourself. Just show up for yourself.
Well, kudos to you and congratulations to you and your wife on breaking the cycle. And yes, home ownership is huge. And, just think as the model and example that you're setting for your daughters, and like you said, and your grandson. And the no yelling, oh my gosh, when I tell you, I recently made that transition for the no yelling with my own sons, and how the connection I have now that I have kind of basically, stop yelling. And I just kind of talk to them. I'm not saying I raise my voice a little bit sometimes. I'm not saying that they're still not disappointing me. But you're right. If you just stop the yelling and then just talk and have a conversation, you can be firm and stern when you can, correct, but not the yelling. And I mean, it has done tremendous things for the relationship.
Thank you for sharing that. Right on, Dr. Rowe. Oh, I love that. That's what's up, see? That's showing up to yourself. You're welcome. You're very welcome. That's being intentional about your personal growth, Dr. Rowe. That is what I mean, showing up to yourself. You identify something. You recognize the pattern, right? The best way to interrupt the pattern is to break it. Or is to actually recognize it and then change it.
Well, what I recognized was, I came from parents that yelled. That's how they communicate. Yell, and that's the house that I came from. And then I realized, of course, I divorced because of domestic violence. And so when I'm raising my 3 sons and I look at them and I'm like, you know what, how do we break this? But if I'm asking my sons to improve themselves, right, then I also have to know that mommy can also. And so
there you go. I like that.
I made a commitment to them, right? And so remember I told you, I'm all about win-wins. I'm all about So I can't require my sons to, if this is my belief, I can't require my sons to make changes and push them to make changes and have these standards if I am also not going to meet certain standards of respect and help them as well. So that's
right on.
The fact that you're doing that with your grandsons is amazing. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. And thank you. And I think what you're doing is wonderful as well. And thank you for being so transparent and vulnerable about that. That's awesome. I commend you. That's what it's about right there. Like I said, showing up, recognizing that and wanting to do something about it and do something about it that, has a more healthier approach. Therefore, we get more healthier results. Love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So in this work that you do, let's tell the listeners in the audience, what are some key practices that you recommend for building resilience in everyday life?
Oh my goodness. First, establish a routine that helps you, that works for you. A morning routine that allows you to meet at baseline. Starts with a morning stretch, go to the gym. I'm there for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then I'll come home and get ready for the day. But the workout itself allows me to show up to my day at baseline. So I don't allow the day to show up to me. I show up to the day. But 2, be intentional about your personal growth. Know what you want to do from one day or 1 week to the next. Have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. These goals will help to keep you on your path to where you want to go. Number 3, be transparent and honest with yourself. I have a method that people use all over the world called Tavares' famous mirror talk. It's exactly what it sounds like. You go into the mirror and you talk to yourself. Everybody has a mirror. You got a mirror on your cell phone. Just do the selfie phone or do the selfie cam. And in this space, it allows a lot of my members to be vulnerable and to speak to themselves. Being that energy is everything that we are and everything that the world is, I believe that when we talk to that mirror, we're giving energy to the reflection. And that energy comes back. So we're talking to ourselves in the mirror. We're like, you know what? I believe that you're going to have a great day. Look, don't sweat the small stuff. It's going to be okay. And that energy comes back to you. I think there's a vibration of belief that allows us to ascend to a higher frequency. That's how Tavares' famous mirror talk works. So see yourself, love yourself. You know what I'm saying? You are the architect of your reality. So go out there. You're supposed to be there. Live life intentionally. And I'd say the last one would be, make sure that you're treating your body good. Make sure that you're putting the right things in your body. Nutrition is very, very, very important. Nutrition has a way to impact how we think, how we show up to work or show up to other opportunities in life. And then, of course, hydration. Hydration is huge. Okay. Most of the time that people think they're hungry, they're actually thirsty. So make sure that you stay hydrated. And then you put all of this together and you continue to add different components to it. Maybe you want to add now yoga to it, right? Maybe you want to add Pilates to your routine. I share that with every single member that has been to my program. I've had over 250 people do the program.
Well, thank you, Tavares, for sharing your powerful journey.
You're welcome.
Today. Your story of overcoming adversity and your commitment to helping others through health and transformation is truly inspiring. I appreciate your insights into resilience and the practical strategies you've provided for the listeners. So how can people find and connect with you?
They can find me at thebodysynthesis.com. They can email me, Tavares at thebodysynthesis.com or info@thebodysynthesis.com. And there You will find everything through our online store, all of my books, places where I'm speaking at, the other appearances, so all that. And of course, you have plans there, and I have a whole bunch of free goodies there that people could take it from that. The body synthesis. Traditional spelling, nothing creative, just the body synthesis.
Do you have any last words of encouragement for the listener?
Oh my goodness, live your truth. Love yourself. Don't hide any part of yourself. And don't allow anything in your past to live rent-free in your head. Remember, everything that you've been through has brought you to where you are today. It has created the wonderful spirit and individual that you are. So accept and embrace, because all of you matter.
Amazing. Thank you again, Tavares, for being a source of hope and encouragement to all the listeners out there on their life journey as they listen to the Life Jack, the Resilience podcast. I wish you and your family nothing but blessings and abundance. Please take care.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Tavares Garrett, everyone. Be sure to join us next time for more uplifting stories and insights on resilience. Until then, keep pushing forward, embrace the journey, and remember that every setback can lead to a greater comeback. Dr. Rose, signing off.